Welcome to episode 41 of Oscar Sunday. I'm Austin Johnson.
I'm Connor Eyzaguirre.
And today we are going to talk about In Bruges from 2008, which got one nomination for Best Original Screenplay at the 81st Academy Awards. This film is super special. 2008 is a fascinating year. Of course, the year of The Dark Knight, a pretty big film. What kind of jumps out to you? We were both 13. What kind of jumps out to you from 2008 and In Bruges specifically?
To me personally, 2008 is the beginning of the MCU. It's, the double whammy of Iron Man and the Incredible Hulk started something amazing that's ongoing and has defined a big chunk of my life as a film fan. So 2008 is very important to me cinematically.
Yeah, and In Bruges, yeah, I'm sure you saw around when it came out. Yeah.
No, I saw that years later. My uncle was a big fan of it, and he suggested I check it out, and I watched it. And
I'm shocked.
Yeah, I immediately was like, "This is fucking hilarious! I love this."
Yeah. It's wonderful. It's wonderful stuff. Yeah, I think it's one of the first movies that comes to my mind when I think of 2008. Not because I saw it in 2008. I also saw it years later, and just now rewatching it just totally blew my mind. It was my favorite viewing I've had of it for sure. But yeah, man, this year, I'm glad you pointed out, it's totally the birth of, superhero movies taking over.
Yes.
Of course, the next decade is going to be filled with just smash hits of MCU movies and DC kind of falling behind and just creating this super interesting narrative. But, In Bruges is like on the total other end, right? It's a movie that, is operating on a $15 million budget. It's a directorial debut for Martin McDonagh, and it's a movie that premiered at Sundance. It was the opening night movie that they showed, so it just kind of, fit right in for that and kind of wowed audiences, and of course was, distributed, funded right away, all that kind of stuff. It's, become a cult hit now. And then he goes on to make Seven Psychopaths and Three Billboards, which of course gets tons of Oscar nominations and some wins. But In Bruges is, to me, easily the best of those three.
Yeah,
it's the most distinct for me. It's got the most clear vision from Martin. It's clearly what he wanted to do on his first movie. It's really cool. He's in his late 30s when this happens. He's 50 right now, so it's just a fascinating time for him as a filmmaker. And when I was rewatching it, I was just kind of blown away by just how his style is so on the front page right away. You're in somebody's hands. It's not a it's not a giant company's hands. You're in a person's hands. You're with a visionary, and that's really cool.
He's got a style that's kind of like Guy Ritchie meets the Coen brothers.
For sure.
And it's so neat, and you feel in good hands. Now, he's got 3 films now, and each time I feel like I'm watching a McDonagh movie and it's going to be good. He's got a very cool head for storytelling, and he also has a great talent for bringing together an ensemble. I mean, all 3 of these films have an incredible range of actors. And In Bruges alone, for his first film to wrangle Colin Farrell, Brennan Gleason, and Ralph Fiennes, I mean, holy hell.
Unbelievable stuff. Yeah. And then, he of course goes on and teaming up with Frances McDormand, to me, is the kind of coolest pairing, because you brought up the Coens already. And of course he has a very similar just kind of pace to the Coens. And then has that, you can bring up a lot of directors, but you can always come back to, well, if he's got all these different flavors and it's comparing to a bunch of different people, then he must have his own style, because it's all these different things happening at once. And most of all, it's fucking hilarious.
Yeah.
you're gonna be entertained and laugh your ass off. And that's always a good thing.
Oh, absolutely. This movie just keeps getting better. About a month ago, I got to watch it. I got to show it to my dad for the first time, and he loved it. And I was laughing harder because he was laughing, and it just kind of, created this kind of perpetual motion of laughter. And
yes. Yeah, it has that that if you're watching with somebody, with a group of buddies, you're just going to be inclined to kind of agree on some of the dark things, some of the dark humor. You kind of get that validation.
Yeah.
And it totally happens with some of my favorite filmmakers, even, Quentin Tarantino, or someone who I think is in his prime, like Yorgos Lanthimos. It's like when he gets really dark, it's kind of funny. And when you're with somebody else and they're kind of smirking too, you're like, I feel okay. I'm not crazy. And that's certainly something that happens in Bruges. These three guys that are in this movie, only one of them's Oscar nominated. It's a damn shame. But I do want to talk about right off the bat. I want to talk about Colin Farrell and Brennan Gleason before we get to the kind of Oscar touched folks. There's quite a few that worked in this movie that have been Oscar nominated before, but these two guys have not. Awesome character actors, both Colin and Brendan. Let's start with Colin. What jumps out to you about his career, and what should he have been nominated for if we were playing that game?
We're playing that game. So
let's play that game. Why not? It's fun.
Colin Farrell. We were talking a little bit about this before we started recording. He kind of came up as kind of a D-list Mark Wahlberg almost. He was in action movies that weren't that great. He had like the occasional boost. He was in Daredevil, which was like the one I knew him from when I was a kid.
Yeah.
And then somewhere along the line, I think if it wasn't In Bruges, it was a movie like before or like right after In Bruges, around like the mid 2000s. He got clean and he had a complete career resurgence that's still being felt. And he's done his best work. And now I consider him to be like a favorite of mine. Like he's an actor I look forward to seeing now. And I'm very happy 100%. For all his success. I can't wait to see him play the Penguin.
Oh, Lord have mercy. Yeah, I think Colin is one of the guys that has not been, snagged by superhero shit yet. And it's time. It's time because he's totally one of the best character actors working right now. He's 44 years old. Yeah. And yeah, if you, like you said before, I think the line is Miami Vice.
Okay.
I think, the Michael Mann movie, apparently he doesn't remember a lot of like filming that movie and being on set. He's dealing with a lot of addiction issues, and he goes to rehab shortly after that movie is premiered and whatnot. Just going through a lot of shit, And then, like you said, he just starting with In Bruges in 2008, just goes on this run and has continued like to right now. Yeah. As we speak, as a guy who's, in talks to be in stuff, and of course is going to be in the Batman movie. I mean, for me, it's the back-to-back, being in The Lobster and being in Killing of Sacred Deer. Both of those roles are just so fucking wacky and out there. And you can see some of the, some of the In Bruges stuff, that kind of dark humor in these characters. Colin kind of carries that with him no matter what. He has this kind of just like, he plays kind of just negative, fucking pissed off, cynical, funny so well. It does it so well. And the pairing of him and Yorgos is wonderful. I think him alongside Rachel Weisz in The Lobster is one of the better things I can remember from the last decade, as far as, two actors going toe to toe and working together. I love what he's done in this past decade. What are some of your favorites?
Like you have, the favorite of, his double whammy with Yorgos. For me, it's the double whammy he did with McDonagh in Bruges and Seven Psychopaths. Those two are the films that I think define the best part of his career, of, the second half of his career. And, I'll always have a soft spot for, the Fright Night remake.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
As, new Jerry, I thought he did a great job. But some about, Ray, and then Marty, his character in Seven Psychopaths. They're kind of like, they could be cousins. Like is the same cynical bastard who just hates everything around him and drags it all down with him, despite everyone else wanting to kind of have a good time. He does that exact thing in Seven Psychopaths.
Yeah.
It's a great fit for him. And
oh yeah,
it's both of those are just awesome watches that I never get tired of.
Yeah, agreed. Awesome 1-2 punch from any director who's starting out, with making feature length films. Yeah, I think, you pointed out Fright Night, same year. He's hilarious in Horrible Bosses.
Oh, yeah.
Absolutely hilarious as the kind of coked out, weird ass. I can't remember. He's the son of, I can't remember. I believe his father dies in the movie. He takes over the company. Yeah, and he's just kind of insane. Yeah.
He's the boss's asshole son.
Jason Sudeikis, I believe, is his kind of his partner in the movie. Yeah, yeah, he's ridiculous in that. He pops up in Saving Mr. Banks, Dead Man Down. I brought up The Lobster. He's of course in Fantastic Beast and Where to Find Them. Yeah. The Beguiled is an insane movie that he's in. Widows he's awesome in Widows. I thought he was pretty good in Dumbo. I didn't love that movie, but I thought he's pretty good. Kind of an interesting choice. But I'm super excited for what he's gonna do in the future. I think you pointed out earlier that he's gonna have kind of a next phase, and it's kind of started and it's looking good.
I would be remiss if I didn't point out his role as Coach in The Gentleman.
Of course, I was waiting because that's one of your favorite movies in the past couple of years. Yeah.
Straight up, he has such great chemistry with Charlie Hunnam in that film, and his role is kind of the gangster with a good heart who doesn't want to get his the kids he looks after involved in this shit, so he takes responsibility, and he just has some amazing lines, some great moments. It's beautiful. That movie is one of my favorite scripts maybe ever. The Gentleman. It's such a smart, tight script, and Colin Farrell is just one part of an incredible ensemble.
Yeah, God, man, incredible stuff. I knew you were going to bring that one up. It's a movie, that ranks very high for you. In the past stuff you've been able to see, and of course, it's one of the last things you got to see in theaters before COVID took you away from it for a little while. So yeah, special stuff.
I remember when I saw The Gentleman, thinking 2020 is going to have such a great bunch of movies. If this is how it starts, oh boy, this is going to be a great year. How fucking wrong I was. My God.
Oh, man. Crazy. Oh, I love it, man. Colin, wonderful in Bruges. Maybe his best performance, of his entire career.
The one I think he should be nominated for.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's one of the 3 or 4 that you would point out to that. Yeah, he should have probably been in talks more for to be nominated. Yeah. Now his buddy in the film. We got Ken, Brennan Gleason. This man, of course, is responsible for one of the most badass characters in the Harry Potter franchise. Yeah. So, of course, right off the bat, he's someone that, you recognize, of course, because you grew up with those films. And then I became kind of obsessed with them later on, the books and the movies. And he certainly is one of the people that, stand out the most in that franchise. Brennan Gleason's one of the first people I think of when I think of that franchise. But on top of that, he's one of those people that when you learn more, he's just been involved in so many amazing things. And I want to let you take it away. This guy's turning 66 this year. Just incredible.
Well, just as Mad Eye Moody in Harry Potter, I mean, people forget he plays 2 roles in that franchise. He's Mad Eye Moody, but also in Goblet of Fire, he's Barty Crouch Jr. playing Mad Eye Moody.
Yeah.
So the layering of that performance it just gets better every time I watch Goblet of Fire.
Oh, man.
Fantastic. But, that was my first intro to Brendan Gleeson. But when I first saw Harry Potter, I wasn't thinking of actors. I wasn't thinking of oh, there's Alan Rickman. I was just I love this.
Right. Yeah.
And
magic.
Yeah. The movie that really made me recognize Brendan Gleeson as an actor that I want to follow is 28 Days Later. And Frank is the saddest motherfucker in that movie. Just his story is so heartbreaking, but so real. And Gleeson brings that to every role he's ever done. He has this signature look about himself where he looks like just some dude walking down the street. He doesn't have a movie star quality. He's the very definition of a character actor. And he brings it every single time, from, fucking Braveheart all the way to Mr. Mercedes. Like, the guy knocks it out the park constantly. I love him to death. He's one of my favorites.
Yeah, man. Yeah. 28 Days Later. What a movie. Just like simply, I believe that one's a like kind of through and through masterpiece. The year after, you have Gangs of New York, and then Cold Mountain right after. This guy, the range he's able to put himself through here is pretty remarkable. And a guy who's, like I said, in his mid 60s, has certainly had kind of peaks and valleys in his career, where you see these runs of like kind of amazing choices and just good movies. But I'll say, everything I've seen him in, whether it be bad or good, he has the classic trait of a character actor. He's always good. He always brings it. He always brings his juice to the table. I'm totally cool with that. Even in Lake Placid, he's pretty good in that. And he doesn't need to be at all, and that's mad respect for that.
But that's the curse of the character actor. Not all the roles are beefy. They're not all giant productions, but character actors tend to pick out roles that give them something to do. And Brennan Gleason has certainly done that. They may not all be, huge movies, but everything he's done, he's given it all to the role. And I mean, you can't ask for less than that. I mean, like the TV show Mr. Mercedes, Stephen King wrote the role of Bill Hodges with Gleeson in mind if they ever made a movie out of it. That's awesome. And then Gleeson did the show 3 seasons in. And I watched the first season, and no one else could have done that. Over the hill Irish cop who catches the serial killer that got away. I mean, come on.
Yeah.
Who else would you want but Brendan Gleeson?
Yeah. Tom Wilkinson, maybe. Yeah. But yeah. No.
Oh, nobody plays, over the hill Irish bastard better than Brendan Gleeson.
Yeah, if we're talking Irish cop, have you seen there's a film with, I brought up Tom Wilkinson because there's a film with him and Joel Edgerton. Cannot remember the name of it. I thought maybe you would know, but they both play these cop characters, and it is just a wonderful movie. And I thought maybe you would remember it. Yeah.
Let's find out.
Or maybe you have seen it. Yeah.
Felony?
Yeah.
I have not seen that, but this sounds intriguing.
Yeah. I just was thinking when you were kind of describing that character of Gleeson, I don't know why that movie came into my mind. That's just kind of what we do on these podcasts. You just your brain goes to strange places.
Yes, indeed.
Gleeson, I love him in Troy, Kingdom of Heaven. Even in Edge of Tomorrow, I think he's pretty good in. In the Heart of the Sea, he's the only part of like that movie. Yeah, there's really nothing you could go down the line. There's nothing in here where I'm like, yeah, he's in any way phoning it in. And then of course throughout you see here and there Mad Eye Moody. You're like, oh yeah, pretty cool.
Oh hell yeah! I mean, he just got a Golden Globe nomination for playing Trump. I mean, I need to see the Comey Rule just so I can see Brendan Gleeson play fucking Trump. I mean, I need to see how he does that. And I also promised myself I would not watch that until the Trump presidency was over, and now it is. So now I can watch that. So
hell yeah,
I would like to see that. There's a lot, he's been in the business for decades. There's so much of his work to see, and so much still yet to come.
Hell yeah,
I love the guy.
Yeah, man, he's been nominated for 4 Golden Globes, but no Oscars. But we had to bring him up here, him and Colin, because they're just superstars, and they kind of keep this movie just rolling in a direction that is super, super entertaining. And I find them to be just awesome pairing. These two guys, they're really built for like a cop TV show that could just last forever. Because these two, the chemistry is through the roof. I love them both. But the third guy, this guy has been Oscar nominated. This is a man that is familiar with what it's like to be at the Academy Awards, be participating. That's Ralph Fiennes.
Oh yeah,
that's a total legend. Also, played Voldemort in the Harry Potter franchise. But this guy's Oscar nominated, so we can kind of direct our attention to there, unless you want to talk about Rafe from a bigger picture standpoint, because I know you love the guy.
Well, considering I have not seen either of his Oscar nominated films, I would prefer the big picture to see.
Go take it away, man. What do you love about him?
Ralph Fiennes is I love character actors to death. I think that's pretty evident by now. And Ralph Fiennes is another one of those guys who's always done amazing work. And I mean, he's also, he's Voldemort. He's the new M. He's got, and he's in so many franchises himself, but also littler stuff. I know back when I was a kid, Ralph Fiennes was one of the few people to scare the absolute shit out of me when I watched Red Dragon for the first time.
Hey, nice.
And Francis Dollarhide is no one to be trifled with. And when he bites off Philip Seymour Hoffman's lips, lights him on fire, I had a panic attack. I was like 8 or 9 years old. I know I keep telling this story a lot with different movies. Clearly, I did not learn my lesson at all when I was a kid. But yeah, Red Dragon's on that list. And from there, I knew this guy's face. It was in my head. So every time I saw him, I was like, that's the guy.
That's that fucking guy. Yeah, I love him, man. He's got that face anyway. So even if he wasn't a prominent key player in a movie, even if you just saw him while walking down the street, you'd be like, holy shit, this guy just has this kind of captivating look. Yeah, he was nominated for Best Supporting Actor, Schindler's List, which came out in 1993. And then he was nominated for Best Actor in a lead role, The English Patient, 1996.
Yeah.
That's, two-time nominee. I really wish he would have been up for Grand Budapest Hotel.
He should have been.
I thought that whole movie, was loved a lot by the Oscars, but I thought they missed the best part.
They really did. I'm surprised that no one from that movie was nominated. You'd think an ensemble like that, the Oscars would throw somebody some love, and it should have been Rafe. Monsieur Gustave is one of my favorite characters he's ever played.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, I think it has an argument for being one of his best. Totally takes the kind of Wes Anderson style to a completely new level. He catapults it. There's guys like, and this is coming from, I'm a huge Wes Anderson fan. Grand Budapest Hotel is probably his best movie. It's not my favorite. It's really nowhere near my favorite, but it is so damn good. It's like when you hear a band that's just fucking flawless. They just come out with an album that just works, but you're not, sometimes with a director, you kind of like the little hiccups here and there. I love Bottle Rocket. I love Rushmore. I love Darjeeling. Those are like my favorites, but Grand Budapest is this kind of stagey, just brilliant, puts his kind of typical production design on steroids. The symmetry is there and all these different colors and typical West style, but it's so grand, the whole time. It's really this just breathtaking film to watch. And at the center of it is an amazing performance. Amazing. That keeps it. It's totally the engine of it, and keeps it flowing. So yeah, I totally wish that was, the other nomination he had, if I could pick one.
My family loves that movie so much that whenever it's even mentioned, my grandpa will instinctively yell, "Get your hands off my lobby boy."
Yeah, totally get it. I totally understand that. My brother and his wife, they have this kind of those letter boards that you put up on the wall, and you just kind of and they put movie quotes on that. And for the longest time, Caitlin is her name. She had that quote. And so you'd walk into their apartment. That was one of the first things you saw.
That's beautiful. I love it.
Yeah. And it's been all kinds of other things, but that's the one that sticks out the most, Yeah. You look more like a games guy. That was one of them from Adventureland that they had, but that was the one that made me laugh the most, the hands off my lobby boy, just brilliant. And the moments when he's just totally buying in to Wes's vision and just directly looking at the camera and, you think I've done it, and then just running the other way. That's not easy to do. It's not easy to make that look like believable, but Rafe has a sense. He has a way about the movie screen that's pretty amazing. What else do you like about him? Because there's so much.
Well, when Skyfall came out, he joined the cast as the character of Gareth Mallory, and I thought they were going to be playing the long game, and he was going to be the new Blofeld, because I thought I would love to see him, be James Bond's arch nemesis. But then, the script got flipped, and he was the new M, and then I thought that's even better. He's Bond's boss. He's the guy in charge of MI6. And then he stayed on Spectre and No Time to Die. He's also going to be in, and he's rocked. He's been my favorite M since Bernard Lee. On top of that, he also is, to me, his arrival in the Harry Potter franchise is the moment where everything changes. The arrival of Lord Voldemort. We are now in a different franchise. This is not, happy-go-lucky wizards. This is life or death, good versus evil now.
So you're talking about when he kills Batman?
Yeah.
Okay.
When Voldemort kills Batman, that's when shit gets real.
Okay. Yeah. All right. I know. Yeah, I know what you speak of. Kill the spare.
Dude, when I saw that for the first time, I was like, I had read the book. I was a huge fan. I was waiting for that. And I'm like, this is not disappoint. Oh my God, it's him. It's the Dark Lord. They could not have cast that better. Ralph Fiennes kills it the entire time of that franchise. And it's so, I think it's a lot of people consider it the role that kind of defines his career. He's been totally cool with that. I've seen him talk about it. He loves playing Voldemort. I've seen him in interviews and stuff, and he seems really, yeah, exactly. Who wouldn't?
Yeah, good God. I would love a chance to fucking be the ruler of evil in a fake wizarding world. Yeah, that sounds great. It'd be so cool to be at a giant table and to be able to, like, at the, snap of my fingers, tell a bunch of snakes like what to do. That'd be great.
My God. But with that said, huge, you know me, huge Harry Potter fan, huge Bond fan, huge Hannibal Lecter fan. My favorite role of Ralph Fiennes is Harry fucking Waters. This movie.
I totally understand.
This is the film. He should have been up for Best Supporting Actor. He is absolutely hilarious. Like, the moment he shows up, just the phone calls, like imagining who the fuck is on the other end of this phone call, like, angrily bitching about how much Ray doesn't like Bruges.
Not fucking like Bruges, fucking fairy tale town. Yeah, first off, the decision to be so patient with his character.
Yeah.
In a movie that really isn't that long, it's about, really, without the credits, it's like an hour and 40 minutes. And to have the patience until like almost an hour in to bring him in the flesh I love that patience. And he comes in like a firecracker, where we've heard this voice and then to put the face with it. Just, I was totally floored this time watching. Shame on me for forgetting how good he was in this movie. I totally understand why this would be your favorite role of his.
Yeah, and that's taken over Voldemort and M. So that's saying a lot.
Yeah, no kidding.
Have you seen his Oscar nominated roles? Schindler's List and The English Patient?
I have. I've seen both. Not in a long time. English Patient, I actually you'll probably know this. I watched that because of that Seinfeld episode. And of course it won Best Picture. But there's a Seinfeld episode where they're a whole bit about it. They go out to see the film, and I just watched it. I was too young, watching it. I had no idea what I was getting into, And of course now, like, I've seen stuff with Rafe, I've seen stuff with Juliette Binoche, and have a totally different perspective. So I would love to rewatch that one. And Schindler's List, I watched maybe 4 or 5 years ago. And it was just one of those days where I just set aside some time.
Yeah.
I remember buying like a 6-pack and just I was like, I'm just going to kind of chill and try to get through this jaunt, and neither of them, are movies that just jump off the page for me with when it comes to him as an actor,
Yeah.
Cause that's just some bias, but like I find his best stuff to be when he is unhinged, and is able to be, like in Bruges, he just can throw in the occasional fuck, or he's when he's Voldemort, he's just inherently evil as shit, and I think that's where he is best suited. That's a little bit biased, I know, because that's the stuff I like, but that's just me as a fan. The stuff for him that jumps off the page, is all the kind of like a little bit edgier stuff for me.
I get that. I mean, English Patient and Schindler's List are two, highly acclaimed World War II dramas. I mean, they better be, I don't want to say much because I haven't seen either of those films. I watched clips from Schindler's List in my 10th grade history class with the football coach teacher, and was then, had to go to lunch. Like I couldn't process Schindler's List. I didn't know what it was clips out of sequence to like help us visualize the Holocaust. Like that's not how you watch Schindler's List. So
no.
Yeah, I'm waiting for the inevitable Best Picture showdown for those films.
Yeah, man. Yeah, of course. That's going to come at some point. This Oscar Sunday, quite frankly, can't really ever end. And because they're always going to keep going, and we'll do a Best Picture showdown around every single one. And
no,
we haven't done that many so far, so I'm of course looking forward to every single one of them. Before we move on to the writer director of In Bruges, who certainly has some Oscar talk, Ralph Fiennes, he is one of my favorite guys to be in a animated movie for voice acting. Like in Prince of Egypt. I don't know if you've seen that one, but as he's Ramses in that movie, holy shit. Just like, whoa, just fucking grabs you by the balls. Like it's one of those kind of like, just distinguished, for you, Connor, is like, how exactly where you are when you hear Mark Hamill's Joker. You're like, oh yeah.
Oh,
like Ralph Fiennes as Ramses, you're just like, holy shit. Yeah. Like it totally makes sense. It totally fits and just kind of like lines up right here. And it's badass for him to take that on. Of course, at the root, of course, I wish they would have done a whole different voice cast. But if you're going to go for English speaking people, man, Rafe just knocks it out of the fucking park in that movie. That was up for Best Original Song, I believe.
Yeah.
At the Oscars. So one day I want to do Prince of Egypt because I think it's a kind of fascinating movie to talk about. And then there's actually some really good voice performances. But yeah, he's awesome, man. I love the guy. Anything else before we move on to Marty?
I thought it was really cool that he played Alfred in the Lego Batman movie.
Yes, there you go. Yes, perfect.
And I also really hate that he was wasted as Professor Moriarty in Will Ferrell's god-awful Holmes and Watson. Like that's Ralph Fiennes as Moriarty. I mean, the perfect union of like literary bad guy and British thespian. That's what we get, and it's that motherfucker, like that movie that has that performance. Shame. Yeah,
shame. That's a good old Hollywood what if.
Yeah.
There's too damn many of those, I tell you what. But In Bruges is not one of those. In Bruges is one that I feel very strongly about. And of course, the main reason is because Mr. Martin McDonagh. Now this guy coming from London, where he was born, his 3 films, like you mentioned earlier, his short film 6-Shooter won Best Short Film at the Oscars in 2005, and he goes on to make these 3, like we mentioned earlier, In Bruges, 7 Psychopaths, and 3 Billboards Outside of Ebbing, Missouri. 7 Psychopaths, there's nothing there.
Yeah.
Sadly, that's upsetting. But with In Bruges, we have the screenplay nomination for Mr. Martin, and then of course in three Billboards, which we've brought up before on this show, just kind of took the Oscars by the balls a little bit when it comes to nominations.
Oh yeah.
And I think I think we both at one point during that kind of award season thought this was probably gonna win Best Picture.
I didn't think the Oscars were gonna go with, Guillermo del Toro's weird fish movie. I mean, it was good, but it wasn't Best Picture. That was that year, right?
Yeah.
Okay, good. Three Billboards had all the makings of an Oscar darling. I mean, it had a great ensemble of, past nominees and winners. It had, an up and coming director who was due for a win. It had a great, timely story that, a great mixture of comedy and drama. It had everything. And somehow it lost most of those. I think the only wins it got, McDonagh won for screenplay, right?
Yeah, 1-2, and then of course Franny. Oh no, it's just Franny and Sam Rockwell, I believe. I think he lost screenplay. Let me look.
It was original screenplay, and he lost to Jordan Peele, didn't he?
Yeah, correct. Yeah, of course. Get Out. Yeah, duh.
Yeah. So it was just McDormand and Rockwell that took gold for that one.
Yes. Yeah, just 1-2. Yeah, let's just go through these real quick. Why not? While we're here.
All right.
For Three Billboards, we have nominated Best Film Editing, Screenplay, Music, Original Score. Woody Harrelson for Best Actor in a Supporting Role.
Yeah.
And then Best Motion Picture of the Year. And then yes, Sam Rockwell and Frances McDormand both took home gold. But yeah, no. Martin has not won anything.
Damn. That's crazy. I mean, this is a hell of a triple threat. I know he's got one in the works right now with Colin back in the works.
Yeah.
Very happy for that. He'll get his one day. Maybe not director, maybe not picture, but he will one day snag a screenplay win.
Yeah, I think so too. He's I mentioned earlier, I believe he's 50 right now. I think there's just so much creativity pouring out of him over the past 10 or so years.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think we can expect just a lot more of that to come. I do like that there's those gaps in between his movies, really lets the movie breathe and lets it kind of become what it needs to be. And I think it's factored really well for something like In Bruges or Seven Psychopaths, where they really just got to become what they are, which is just kind of cult favorites now.
Well, he's got a 4 to 5 year gap in between each film, roughly. 08.
Yeah, correct. 4 years and then 5 years. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. So we're going on 4 years now. So it's coming.
Yeah, man. Pretty exciting stuff. I'm really excited for what to see who he works with, other than of course Colin. I really want to see who else, he kind of, because Frances McDormand, I loved what he was doing with Sam Rockwell and Lucas Hedges and Peter Dinklage, just really cool stuff. But I do want to say he is an Oscar winner for his short film. So he does have gold, just not for feature length films yet. But like you mentioned, the screenplay one will probably be coming at some point. That's what I think he has his best, as far as batting average goes, that's probably his best bet.
Statue's a statue, short film, big film, gold is gold.
Agreed. Yeah. And apparently Six Shooter is great. I was trying to fucking watch it and I just didn't I had plenty of time. It's a short. I just didn't make time for it, didn't really make time to find where to watch it. So that's on me.
Well, we can only do so much, it's a weekly show, guys.
Yeah. Truly. We got other shit going on. Carter Burwell. Talk about a guy who's got a lot of shit going on. We've mentioned the kind of Coen feel, the pace that, of course, Martin McDonagh has in his films, and Carter Burwell is certainly someone who, has a foot in that.
Oh yeah,
he has done pretty much every movie with the Coens, pretty much. Oh, yeah. Even on No Country for Old Men, he was helping them with the sound of the movie.
That's awesome.
Not even though he didn't compose a score for it. He's a wonderful composer, and one of the names that jumps out to me because I am such a huge Coen fan, and I feel like it's the same for you. This guy probably should have a lot more nominations to his name, but it doesn't really matter with him because of that attachment to the Coens. He's forever ingrained in their filmography. He's just like Francis. He's kind of just a part of their whole world.
Yeah.
And when it comes to their films, he has to be brought up. And I love that.
Well, one thing the Coens have like never done, they've never forgotten their roots. They've always stuck together with their team. You know, Carter Burwell, Francis McDormand, Sam Raimi to a certain extent before he took off. Like these guys all came up together and they've stayed together. And that's awesome. Carter Burwell has only gotten better because of the Coens. And the Coens have only gotten better because of Carter Burwell. Like they've all helped each other. And I love that. I love a symbiotic relationship in film.
Oh, same. Isn't it nice to see?
Oh, it's great.
I think it's also really cool and just shows that we had to point out his work with the Coens because he just hasn't been nominated for any of their movies.
Unbelievable.
But Carter Burwell has been nominated twice for Carol and for Three Billboards Outside Ebbing, Missouri. and he does the music for In Bruges. So of course, there's something about Martin McDonagh that attracts Carter Burwell.
Yeah.
And of course, it's got to be the style of filmmaking.
He's like
and the storytelling.
He's like McDonagh's like the third Coen brother who got lost at birth.
In London, just lost. Yeah.
Yeah. He's got the same. There's a vibe there. It's crazy.
Yeah, there's no joke. It's definitely there. There's influences, and I've heard multiple people point it out for being, McDonagh's influences, but no one more than the Coens, guys who are just not even that much older than him. It's really fascinating.
Well, you just look at their extensive filmography and they're like just constant, hammering them out one after another, like ever since Blood Simple. And I mean, how can you not, as a aspiring filmmaker, not look at those guys and be like, I want to do that.
Yeah, just go. Just make original after original after original. Yeah.
But one thing, if I ever write a movie, I'm gonna be watching some Coen brothers for inspiration.
Fuck yeah, man!
They're the first guys I'm going to.
I think they are awesome. When you're talking about two guys that are in charge of writing and directing and kind of at the helm and do a lot of their own editing and kind of pick and choose their people that they're working with. I think you got to be inspired or influenced to kind of do your own thing, and it doesn't have to be the exact same way, but you feel this like creative energy in their movies that is intoxicating and just kind of reels you in. I think that's the main thing about something like like Lebowski is it looks like so much fun to be on that set. And it feels that way for a lot of their movies, even if they're really serious. It just feels like, God, they're just having a good old fucking time, like no matter what's going on. It could be Miller's Crossing, the darkest scene of the whole movie. It feels like the energy of this movie is just good. And because people were having a good fucking time.
Because one thing McDonagh picked up from the Coens is an ability to write memorable, meaty characters. And that's felt throughout, all three of his films. Every character stands out. There's no small parts, in Bruges, there's like just the fat Americans. Like, we remember them. Like one little scene, but it's so well done. And yeah, McDonagh just, he has that. It's such a great skill for a writer to have, is to, create, small characters. That's really difficult to do, but some can pull it off, and McDonagh can pull it off.
Yeah, no kidding, man. And here's another guy who has contributed greatly to Martin McDonagh's success in his style is John Gregory, the film editor of all three of his feature-length films. Was nominated for 3 Billboards Outside Ebbing, Missouri for Best Achievement in Film Editing. Obviously, someone that Martin trusts here, John Gregory, and it shows. I was listening to kind of gather, to kind of wrap my head around Martin's, feel for filmmaking and what he kind of wants to do. I was watching an interview shortly after In Bruges came out, and he's talking about film editing and cutting and how intentional those decisions are. And his answers were really interesting because he was kind of abrupt about how sure he is about what to put in the film and what to cut out, and how the rest of it's just kind of like fat or whatever you want to call it, and it was very fascinating to know that In Bruges is pretty much exactly what he had in mind. and you love to hear that, and you love to hear him kind of talk about just on a first name basis, working with John, me and John in the room, me and John on the floor, cutting, editing. Oh, that's John Gregory. Okay. Clearly they have a kind of a friendship here that's lasted over 10 years in filmmaking. And that's pretty cool. He also, he's only been nominated once at the Oscars, but he's been nominated for 4 BAFTAs, including, here's a fun one, 4 weddings and a funeral.
Hello.
How about that?
Hello, old friend. I remember you.
Episode 1. Yeah, back in episode 1, we talked about Pulp Fiction, 1994, and of course, Four Weddings and a Funeral was also up for Best Picture along with Pulp Fiction. Another film we didn't bring up earlier, also up for Best Picture in 1994, is Quiz Show with Ralph Fiennes.
Oh yes, Van Doren. Great story, great movie.
Yeah. IMDb kind of just jumps out at me sometimes, and it's like, shit, forgot that one. But I love finding out about the Carter Burwells, the John Gregorys, those cats. I think it's really important to learn about those guys, and those are the guys who are kind of Oscar touched, and I think it's important to bring them up.
Yeah, the Midas touch that matters here. It's gold is gold, and I love kind of spotlighting the different categories and the different pieces that go into making a film like this. It's important. It does take a village.
Oh, most certainly. I think anyone would find that when you find a filmmaker, a so-called auteur, you find that it is a village behind them, behind their vision that believes in them.
Yeah.
That helps them kind of move that forward. Because every time you look at someone's filmography, like the Coens or Tarantino or whoever it is, Spike Lee, or you see that they've worked with the same people on half their filmography. And you realize that it totally is about a vision and about teamwork and effort and seeing that and working together for sometimes one person's vision. And that's beautiful.
It is beautiful. And we get to reap the benefits of it because we get to enjoy this art that never stops.
Beautiful, beautiful. Last guy before we move on to the 81st Academy Awards proper. I thought it would be silly to not bring him up anyway, even if he wasn't Oscar nominated in the past. That is Michael Carlin, the production designer, head of production design in Bruges. Just Jesus Christ, there are times where you legitimately feel like you're there. You legitimately feel like you're in this random ass place in Belgium. I love that. I love that about Michael Carlin.
Was this not filmed on location?
Yeah, it is. Yeah. You totally relishes this city. Like I think it's not easy to go to a place that isn't known about, like Bruges. Of course they're making jokes about it, and there's a place called Brussels not far away that they could have used, but they take Bruges instead. And I love that decision. And you don't need to know much about it, but you're 100% in a foreign place. And I love how it's like kind of a shout out. And of course it references like old European movies, but I thought about 8.5, Federico Fellini at times, especially during like the dream sequences, like super, super fascinating. I thought it was awesome. Michael Carlin was nominated for The Duchess. Never seen that movie. Came out back in 2008 as well, actually. So same year. Busy one for Michael Carlin.
I love, production design is one of my favorite aspects to look at in a film. How the film really is, that for me is the ultimate way a film looks, comes from that. It's 100%. What you remember the most, I think, about a film is, the visuals stick. And I love when a film has good production design. I love, kind of, I don't know what the hell I'm trying to say. I love production design there.
Yeah, no, it's the best. I would love to bring back up, Wes Anderson is one of my favorite, guys, and he's worked with a bunch of different people on that end, and then brought people back in for certain, things he's going to do in movies. You can see similarities in like Darjeeling and Grand Budapest, you can see, oh, it's probably the same person. Very, very cool.
Last year at the Oscars, was it Parasite that took home production design?
I believe so. I believe that was one of the ones that won. Yeah. Yeah.
Beautiful. I mean, it's highlighting the poor side of Korea and the wealthy side of Korea, and really giving us that contrast of two really different worlds. All of that comes from the design of the film, and that's fantastic.
Yeah, exactly. That's a movie that, definitely is, has an advantage being shot on location, but it doesn't. It's totally taking it to the next level with, of course, the house, and all these other things, and like you said, showing the different classes. It's making those decisions within that city, within that location, that is just so impressive in some of these movies. And God, Parasite, a movie that obviously changes the game for the Oscars, but I've thought about many times of like doing on this show.
Yeah.
And it's just kind of daunting. It's kind of a daunting one because of how recent it was. But rewatching that with this lens, that like picking awards for it would just be uber difficult. I find that it operates just on this whole level where every piece of it is just kind of put together in such a perfect place. I love that movie, and the production design is one of the main parts of that one.
Oh yeah. And in Bruges, our production design is giving us this kind of, as Harry puts it, fairy tale land that Ray is too naive and just self-absorbed to appreciate. And you need a place like Bruges for this film to work. And I total props to the production designer.
I love it, man. Well, that was fun. I love talking about those people. We're always going to do that when we can. When there's some individuals that we feel like, if there's an Oscar nomination there, we also want to just kind of spread the love, on these individuals, because they're there. And like Connor said, it takes a village to do anything right. And certainly In Bruges is just right. Now, it was just nominated once for screenplay.
Yeah. So
you and I kind of went ahead and watched all 5 from that category. We typically don't do that for just these episodes. We typically do that for the best picture, showdowns, watch all 5. But with this, it's kind of special because we really like In Bruges, and it's got that one nomination. So it's kind of like, why not?
Yeah.
It's the same way I felt about doing Shrek, where of course Shrek had multiple nominations, but Shrek being the first winner in that animated category, we went ahead and watched the other 2 animated movies that were nominated. It just kind of gives you a little, you get a grasp on what was competing in that category. And it's not necessarily for us to be like, oh, these 5 are the 5, because for sure there are other movies from 2008 that should be in the screenplay category. Of course, that's every single fucking year. But these 5 movies, they all have something to offer. For us, we were rewatching In Bruges, Milk, and WALL-E, but neither of us had seen Happy Go Lucky or Frozen River. But we watched them both. We rented Frozen River, and we both watched Happy Go Lucky on HBO Max. So, hey, we're here. We can talk about all 5. I want to start with WALL-E because it's at the bottom. What'd you think of your rewatch on WALL-E?
So as I stated in my review, I had not seen WALL-E since I saw it at the movies when I was 13. And back then I thought, I've seen better. I thought Pixar had done better. I thought it was, kind of boring. And then watching it this time, I was like, oh, I get it. Like, that's why everyone loves this movie. It reminded me so much of Charlie Chaplin. Just, comedy without dialogue and building a love story without words. And it really was very sweet. And I love the environmental message and the wholesome message of, protect Earth, protect each other. I like that. And I was very impressed with Thomas Newman's score. Loved his bouncy. You never hear Thomas Newman do like something bouncy like that. His scores are usually like really good, but fucking downers. And I liked WALL-E. I'm not sure if it deserved the screenplay nod.
Yeah, this is fascinating kind of discussion, I think, conversation is animated movies that have kind of broken in.
Yeah.
Toy Story did that, Shrek did that. Of course, Wall-E right here. It happens, it can happen. But I don't really like it that much. I'm not saying that animated movies don't have any business in here. I don't think that's true. I just think when we're looking at only 5 slots,
yeah,
sometimes it feels as though they're kind of throwing a bone rather than nominating truly something that is kind of moving or stirring. Like Steve McQueen's Hunger from 2008. Just something that really kind of teaches you and kind of grinds your gears. And Wall-E, you brought up Charlie Chaplin. A lot of it is you just kind of watching, not any talking. So
that's my big point with Wall-E. Like, there's very little dialogue in the film anyway, and the dialogue we get isn't exactly groundbreaking stuff. It's mostly the fat captain trying to steal the wheel back. So it's a great movie. Animated, it totally deserved the animated film win. Probably, sound design, sound editing would have been fine taking those, but screenplay, no, I don't think it. Yeah, no.
Yeah, no, I don't think it deserves a spot. I like Wall-E. I give it an 8. I think you did too. I think it's a solid flick. It's, there's so damn many, Pixar movies, but it's, I kind of put them in tiers, and I'll just say it's not in my top 2 tiers, but it's probably in the 3rd or 4th. And I like it. I think Pixar, has just obviously insane run. And I would totally understand if Wall-E was someone's very favorite. I totally get that. It kind of has a distinguished, kind of thing to it. And I like that about it. But in this group, in this category, best original screenplay,
no.
You got Andrew Stanton, Jim Reardon, and Pete Docter, kind of Pixar legends.
Yeah.
Working on the screenplay. I think that had a big whole lot to do with it. But yeah, just not totally deserving, but decent movie. And I'm glad we could bring it up at some point on this show.
Yeah, me too.
Let's go to Happy Go Lucky, Mike Leigh's movie, starring Sally Hawkins. I think we have a difference on this one based on your review.
yeah, admittedly. Happy Go Lucky, I was into it. I liked it. I thought Sally Hawkins was amazing. I thought she should have been up for Best Actress. I thought she had such a bubbly, enjoyable personality. But that film did not end on a solid note. I thought that the way they were building the relationship with her driving instructor, which was already so weird. Scott, played by Eddie Marson, who also did a great job.
Yeah, he was spectacular.
But to end with him like attacking her and then going off on her for leading him on, and then she apologizes to him, I was like, fuck this. No. I was out. I was like, that undermined everything I just watched. Like, no. For me, it was just a bad ending, which kind of ruined the movie for me.
I get that. I do. I think its greatest fault is that it's just like 30 minutes too long.
It doesn't have a story really either. Like,
yeah. It's like right up my alley. It's got kind of, raw, pretty easygoing directing with a screenplay that goes nowhere with a lot of talking, like a lot of talking, and really funny shit. Like, my favorite bit from this movie was when Sally Hawkins' character Poppy was at lunch with a friend, and she's like, "Oh, how's your daughter?" And she goes, "Oh, Darren's dumped him. Thanks, Darren." I just fucking lost it. I'm kind of a fucking sucker for those kind of screenplays, and there's of course a bit of Mike Leigh and Martin McDonagh. There's a bit of that British just kind of disdain for stuff and cynicism. Mike Leigh is a guy who I want to check out more of. I know He's had a pretty long career. You know, Secrets and Lies is a movie I've almost watched so many times, and now I really want to. And Sally Hawkins just kind of blew me away. So yeah, I was kind of like all on board. The ending is a bit obscure, but you know me, I'm like 90% journey, 10% end guy. I really just care about if the movie that I'm watching for most of the time is kind of keeping me in and keeping me entertained, keeping me interested. And Happy Go Lucky did that kind of through and through. Even though the ending was a little weird, I still give it an 8. I think it's a solid flick, and I definitely recommend it.
Nah, see, if I'm told to draw a straight line, I draw a straight line, and at the end, I just curve to the left. I failed. I didn't draw a straight line. So, no.
But I like hooks. I like hooks too. I don't need a line. I like hooks.
I like to feel like I accomplished something when I watch a movie. I like to feel like I just watched a solid story. I'm better for it.
I know. Yeah.
And this could have been that. I mean, if they added another half hour to this, Scott's gonna kill her. Like, that's gonna happen. Like, he's gonna break into her house and murder her. Like, that was never resolved. She didn't make him, I thought she was gonna make him a better person or make him realize he was a bastard or something. It just ended with fuck you and fuck you too.
She kind of seemed to be, that was kind of her deal, was like she wanted to help people until it kind of got to a certain point, and her character gets called out, and there's definitely instances where you're frustrated with her because she's kind of leading people on, like, for no reason, really, kind of flaky a little bit. But I Poppy as a person, I don't know if I would want to be friends with, but her friend was hilarious.
I have been friends with Poppies. I know a couple Poppies right now, and I enjoy being around Poppies because I am oftentimes a very cynical, oftentimes, kind of glasses half empty kind of guy, and having those people around makes me feel a little bit better about life. And so the whole time I'm just thinking, like, she's really nice to everybody and nobody's nice to her. I wanted somebody to be nice to her, but instead it kind of blows up in her face. I was kind of hoping that homeless dude was going to save her.
Oh man,
that would have been really cool if he just and beats the shit out of Scott.
Yeah. Is he still there? Yeah. That was an interesting scene. Yeah.
What the fuck? It was pieces together. And I the whole time I'm thinking, I totally understand why Austin likes this. And I'm thinking, please go somewhere. Please I want to justify this viewing. And it didn't. Man. I was like, fuck. So whatever. It's a 7 to me. It's not terrible, but I think it could have been better. And I don't like the way they handled the relationship with the driver.
That's fair. And yeah, of course they're major scenes because he's on the screen a ton. Yeah, I like that. I like when that happens when neither of us had seen it, and who knows what happens on a rewatch. Maybe we reversed, and you're like, I like it more, and I'm like, no.
Maybe. Yeah.
Come back. Yeah, you never know. But the next one, I think we agree a bit more on. Frozen River, written and directed by Courtney Hunt. Yeah. It's her directorial debut, and boy, oh boy, can you tell.
Ooh, shade. I like it.
Yeah, I like this movie. I like Frozen River. I think Melissa Leo is something to behold as an actress, and I think she's fucking nailing it in this movie. And I think Misty Upham, rest in peace, I think she's kind of giving it her all in this movie as well.
Is she dead?
Yeah, she died in 2014, I believe. Yeah. She's pretty awesome in this movie. But aside from that, the acting is so bad.
Yeah.
And so shoddy.
She was 32. Jesus Christ.
Yeah. Yeah. No,
it's forced trauma. What the fuck?
Yeah. Yeah. I didn't really. Yeah. Was murdered. Yeah.
Fuck.
I didn't know. I didn't know. I'm sorry. I didn't know if we would get into it or not. I just wanted to bring her up because I think she's pretty good in this movie. I really do. I think she's. And then I was online. I was on Wikipedia just looking at Courtney Hunt. And then I looked at Misty Upham and I was like, she was in August Osage County. I was like, who is this? And then I was like, oh my God, she passed away, right after August Osage County, like a year later. And yeah, just kind of brutal stuff. But watching this movie, she leaves behind a pretty honest and authentic performance.
I am very sorry to hear that. I did not know about that. Rest in peace. This movie, I agree with you. Melissa Leo was outstanding.
Yeah.
But is this not like, I think Courtney Hunt's a Breaking Bad fan, because it's the same thing. You replace meth with smuggling. It's the same story. That's what bugged me the most. Like, I've seen this before done infinitely better. I thought it was kind of lazy more than anything else. Like, the relationships didn't really make sense. Getting to like forging these relationships didn't really make sense. The ending where she's like, just like what, 2.5 months for good behavior. Like, that's the consequences here. After all that shit, she's just like, the cops is like, you'll be all right. I don't know.
Yeah. This boy. Frozen River. These are the movies that you watch and you stick with, because it's like watching a really young kid try to like make a basket, in basketball. Like, he's kind of small and the goal is, it's 10 feet high. So the kid is like, and the ball can't quite get up to the rim. And with this movie, it constantly just misses and makes the wrong decision, puts the camera in the wrong place, has zero idea how to film two people in a environment where it's supposed to feel intense.
I'm going to say something kind of controversial.
Yeah. Go for it. Yeah.
I think the baby should have died.
I agree. I don't think that's, of course it's controversial with like no context, but I think if you've seen Frozen River, of course, if you've listened to this podcast, we spoil everything. Yeah. With Frozen River, I agree. I think that would have, first off, the movie could have been another 10, 15 minutes, because now you have a direct conflict where, oh my God, as an audience member, what the fuck would I do in this situation? And they just kind of throw that away. Yeah. They just bail it out. The screenplay bails Melissa Leo's character out, Ray, multiple times. And then at the end, like you said, with this 2-month thing, like, and there's gonna be someone watching your kids. Like, I don't know, man. I was definitely impressed by those two performances, and I was impressed by some of the tone. Yeah. But as a whole movie, it just doesn't really work, Yep. Altogether. What was your rating of this one? 7?
7.
Yeah, I think I'd give it a 7 too. I'm even flirting with the 6 just because, I think it's just so poorly crafted.
I agree.
I think Courtney Hunt is someone I'd be willing to give a chance with, like watching more of her stuff. But with this movie in particular, I think she just, I think her screenplay and her directing was just kind of undercooked,
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. I think that Frozen River is a missed opportunity. It really did bug me how similar it was to Breaking Bad, which had come out like 8 months earlier.
That's so true. It's like season 1. Yeah.
First step, the pilot of Breaking Bad and this fucking movie are the same. It's just in the, it's on the ice instead of in the desert.
Perfect. You gotta love that. Melissa Leo was up for Best Actress for that movie. But I think we've definitely settled that there's a clear bottom 3 and a clear top 2 here.
So you want to keep, I think you want to keep Happy Go Lucky.
Oh, I mean, if we're talking all of 2008, no. I mean, no. I think it's good and I like it a lot. But if I look, if I go on Letterboxd here and I look at 2008 of all the movies I've seen, no. I mean, my five might look entirely different. I think In Bruges would be the only one that might stay here. I'd have to really look at it.
Yeah.
But I think when you're looking at these five, I don't think Happy Go Lucky is the worst.
It's not the worst.
Yeah, Frozen River is.
Yeah. I mean, say what you want about Happy Go Lucky, at least it's original.
Yeah, and it's got some moments that really just kind of make you belt out laughing. Yeah, I mean, when she's getting her back adjusted, and she's just talking. So, and he's like, "Okay, okay, then we're just gonna." Are you ready, miss?
I didn't like that we never got to see any follow up on the angry kid and his home life. I thought that was going to be an important subplot, and then all that did was get her to meet the guy. That's the whole reason that kid existed in the movie. And that's a cop out. So
yeah, I definitely wish there was follow up on that kid, because that scene was fucking intense.
Yeah, I wanted to see her, use her powers for good, get this kid to open up and help this kid, and then at the end, they'd high five or something. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I know what you mean. There's got to be a little closure on the fucking student there. Yeah, because she is a teacher. Yeah.
But I think that if I was going to knock out any two, it would be Frozen River and WALL-E.
Yeah, I think Frozen River's 5, WALL-E 4, Happy Go Lucky 3, Milk 2, and Bruges 1. So let's talk about Milk. Milk's what won, of course, did really, really well at this ceremony at the 81st Academy Awards. Sean Penn won for Best Actor. It was up for Best Picture. Gus Van Sant was up for Best Director. Just a lot of stuff going on for this movie. And I gotta say, I love Milk. It was very, very important for me watching this. I actually watched this kind of funny. When I was living in Romania for the first time is when I watched Milk. I was struggling a bit with why I was living in Romania, because I was there working in a Christian organization as a missionary is what I was doing there. And I remember watching this movie, and as basic or whatever you want to call me, I don't really care. Milk, and learning about Harvey Milk and watching Sean Penn, reading about Gus Van Sant, Emile Hirsch, James Franco, all these people are involved in the movie, and then the real life people just totally punched me in the face and changed my perspective on some stuff. And I was 18. Yeah, I was 18 when I saw it, and at the time was kind of all in as a Bible believing Christian. And so there's just something in me that was, I remember there was a stint when I was just kind of watching movies, and I was just kind of renting them and just kind of, checking stuff out. And I don't know what drew me in, but I just was like, fuck it. I'll watch Milk. And there's gotta be a reason for that. I think a lot of people would say, but there was a reason you were, there as a missionary. Well, for me, from my perspective, the life I was living there, to me, it was more of a wake-up call watching this movie. And of course, what it's about, and kind of silly that it took that long, for me to be kind of whacked in the face by a movie like that. From then on out, to now, some of my very, very, very favorite movies of all time are, LGBTQ, films, or, like Cheryl Dunye, Gus Van Sant, or, these people that were a huge part of this kind of, new queer wave of films in the late 80s and 90s. And of course, Gus Van Sant's a huge part of that. And you got to think that Harvey Milk's a guy who helped influence this kind of stuff. Just kind of a meeting of all these things at the summit, where I'm like, this shit matters. This is people's lives, this is their identity. And it's an uber important movie, I think, for just movie fans to watch, but I think it's important for people to watch like at a young age. and learn. I think it's a biopic worth sitting down and kind of showing people, hey, this is one that's worth kind of sitting down and checking out. And I, with all that said, I think the screenplay is wonderful, but I don't think in the art of filmmaking, I don't think it really compares to In Bruges. I think In Bruges is, just kind of like just made for the screen. It truly is just cut perfectly for the screen. But Milk, I get why it won. I get it. It's an awesome, awesome movie, and written with some kind of historical, like serious. They took it really seriously, the historical aspects of it, and that's good to see.
First of all, thank you for sharing such a personal anecdote regarding this film. That's I respect that.
It's silly to just see movies as movies to me. I think it's very dumb to let art pass you by and to not reckon with it, and let it kind of sink into you. And allowing that to be what you feel about it, whether it be you like it or not. I think genuinely trying to take something from something, whether it be a biopic or happy-go-lucky, or I think that's the most important thing, is you have to do the work to find it. You have to do the work to change yourself by watching the art and adapting. It's not the movies it's not up to the movie to do that for you. You have to watch it. You have to pay attention. And you got to do your research afterwards.
I agree. I've always been a big believer in the power of film and how it can change lives. And I've had my life changed a lot by various films. They've kind of, guided me to this point. Mm-hmm. My film selection since I was a kid has, brought me here and influenced the way I believe, the way I think. And it's amazing that, art has the power to do that. And a lot of people don't see films as art in that way, but I 100% disagree. And
yeah.
Milk is a monumental film about a man who changed the way gay people are perceived in this country. The first openly gay elected official in the United States. And he was a revolutionary. He was a great man. And what happened to him was a fucking tragedy. And I love this movie. I was moved to tears when I saw this. And I 100% understand why it won screenplay. It was a very personal, very passionate screenplay.
Mm-hmm.
And I think any other year In Bruges could have taken it, but I do think Milk wedges it out ever so slightly just because of how personal that was.
Yeah, I understand. I think my idea of the best original screenplay is I think I'm just confused because the Oscars have never been sure of what they want out of this category.
True.
And to me, like the Pulp Fictions and the In Bruges and the ones that are just kind of bah, 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 I guess that's my idea of what should win. But I think you may be right, where no, what's the one that's more just kind of hitting you in the heart? That might be the one that should win. I love that these two are going against each other. I love it. This is one of the reasons I wanted to start this whole show, was to pit movies against each other in these categories and actually look at it. And it's very clear that Milk and In Bruges, for us to stand above these other three.
Without a doubt. It's kind of a coin toss for me.
Yeah, same, I think. Yeah, it's tough.
But it is cool to see. I like that the Oscars have split it into original and adapted. It's good to have that, give some, a lot of movies a little bit more of a shot there. But yeah, I can understand why, In Bruges kind of resonates more with you in regards to an original story that, like you said, pops. Yeah, it's just, it's all subjective, and I really have no way to claim which one deserves it.
Yeah. Well, that's why the Oscars are so silly, right? It's like, how can you say a piece of art deserves something over another piece of art? Well, it's It's just I just have a fun conversation out of it usually, you know?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, but you mentioned adapted. Let's just real quick before we get to our awards, I want to look at a couple things from this ceremony, and let's look at adapted screenplay before we hit supporting actor. The Reader, Frost Nixon, Doubt, The Curious Case of Benjamin Button, and the winner, Slumdog Millionaire. The fucking difference in that category in the best original is kind of incredible.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. The adapted is like, all of those films. Well, I have not seen The Reader or The Curious Case of Benjamin Button, but I've heard great things.
Yeah, both wicked serious movies. Yeah.
Well, all 5 of those are incredibly serious. And then you
exactly
look at the screenplay, and you got 2 comedies, a kids movie, and 2 dramas.
Yeah, and 1 Martin McDonagh movie. Yeah. Yeah.
Do you think Slumdog Millionaire should have taken Best Adapted Screenplay that year?
No, I don't think that movie should have really won anything. I like it, but I don't think it should. I think nominations are fine, but I don't think it stood out that strongly in one place. But I do think, like, as a movie, I think I gave it an 8 on Letterboxd. I think it's a good movie, but when we're talking about the best of the best from 2008, I don't think it's really in that conversation.
Fair enough. I'm surprised The Dark Knight's not in there.
For adapted?
Yeah.
Yeah, no kidding. No kidding. Let's go ahead and talk about the best part of that movie. So, best supporting actor, this is special because, of course, Heath Ledger wins the award for playing Joker. Posthumous award. What's even more special than him winning is how well that role has aged, and how much respect he just still has, and how I hear younger people, as I'm getting into my mid 20s, and I'll hear people that are younger than me in their early 20s talking about Heath Ledger, and I'm like, oh yes, and it's like never going to stop because of what the amazing stuff he did in such a short stint, and of course the biggest one would be this role. This is by far and away the most popular thing, most acclaimed thing that he did while he was here, and he fucking won for it, and I'm really glad he did.
I am too. I think it's amazing that he broke new ground with a superhero movie winning an acting Oscar. That's only happened to date. It's happened twice. And the other role was also the Joker. But it is, I credit Heath Ledger and Christopher Nolan with changing everything for superhero movies and showing the Academy that they could be legitimate award-winning films that deserved recognition alongside some of the greats that the Oscars have awarded. And I love that to death. I love that so much. And it is fitting that Heath Ledger won this award. And the only thing I regret is that he didn't get to accept it in person.
Yeah, that's obviously, just shattering. And there's no telling what else the man could have accomplished, as, this is over a decade ago now. It's just really hard to kind of stomach that it's been that long and all this time has passed where he could have, just be working nonstop. He could be in his 40s now. It's really, really crazy.
Yeah.
He beat Josh Brolin, Robert Downey Jr., Philip Seymour Hoffman, and Michael Shannon.
My God, what an amazing group.
Yeah, and I've watched that. I've watched that show before. Of course, I remember watching that one live with my parents, but I've watched it since on YouTube. And when they do the award for Heath Ledger and they show everybody, and Philip Seymour Hoffman's just there in a beanie, just hanging out. And
Yeah.
of course, he's passed away since then, and that was tough to see, right? To see Philip Seymour Hoffman clapping for Heath Ledger, who passed away, and that's just double whammy. These two legends, who are nominated right here in the same category at this show that we're talking about. Crazy.
Yeah, it's weird looking back on those things. had it not been, Heath Ledger was never going to lose this award, but had he not been up of these four, who do you think had the best chance of possibly snagging an award?
Damn. Jesus Christ. I'll say PSH, I'm obviously a huge fan, but when I really look at it, I think in doubt. Then again, in doubt, you got Meryl Streep, Amy Adams, and Viola Davis, and him, who all could have won an Oscar, and I would have been totally understanding of that.
Yeah.
What about you? I have a feeling you're going to lean towards Kirk Lazarus.
I don't try to hide my bias. We all know what I'm about at this point. Robert Downey Jr. in Tropic Thunder is doing something no actor has ever in the history of Hollywood managed to get away with. And that is using blackface in an ironic way that has not to date gotten him in trouble. And I applaud that every time I watch that movie because of how smart that joke is and how layered that performance is. He's playing an Australian actor who is so method that he is playing a black man. And that is unbelievable. That performance is so layered that, I forget that it's in a comedy movie. Like it's a work of art. That performance is a work of art. And I would have loved to have seen him walk away with an Oscar for that.
Oh man. Yeah. I totally hear you on that. I'm very comfortable that'd be the next choice. Yeah, I think. Cause Revolutionary Road, I need to rewatch that. And Josh Brolin in Milk is solid, but he's also just done, I think, other things that are much better.
Yeah.
But RDJ, I think this and Zodiac and his work as Tony Stark that's kind of the money spot.
Yeah, it is. I'm glad that I'm pretty sure he filmed Tropic Thunder first, because if he had become a superstar, there's no way he would have risked everything else on Tropic Thunder. Like he needed to hit rock bottom first to do a movie like that. Current Robert Downey Jr., not a chance in hell he does Tropic Thunder.
Yeah. I'm definitely with you on that one. I think that's for sure with all those guys who are attached to the MCU. They don't want to lose that shit.
Yeah, I think it's a good bunch. I would have some. There's some movies I think that should be in this ceremony, especially in the screenplay category.
Yeah, it's kind of incredible. When I was looking at all the films that have come out, I was like, this could be its own show. Just bringing up a bunch of 2008 movies that could have been up for stuff. Do you want to name a few just real quick before we get into our awards? I mean, I know we've kind of put them off, but this is fun as hell.
I know. I have two movies that I think should take the screenplay slot away from WALL-E and Frozen River.
I think I have a guess on one of them.
Okay. The first one is Gran Torino.
Ah, interesting. Okay. Yeah.
I think that film is underrated. Should have gotten a lot of attention. It's a great story. I would have loved to see that. The other one is Burn After Reading.
Yes, of course. Coen's. Yeah, of course.
One of the Coen's weirdest movies. I think Malkovich should be up for Best Supporting Actor. I think that movie, another very weird story that I think just meshes with something that 2008 just had. 2008 was a year of experimentation in film. I think there's a lot of oddball choices going on in 08 that, kind of made or broke some careers. I think Burn After Reading is a great movie to throw into that pile.
Yeah, I totally agree. That's the one. That was the first one. That one and Hunger, Steve McQueen's Hunger, were the two I was going to kind of point out. A fun one that I'd like to, a couple of fun ones. Sorry, I think that Ponyo, Studio Ghibli film, definitely should have been nominated for Best Animated Feature. And then I think Kelly Reichardt's Wendy and Lucy, whether it be Michelle Williams or Kelly Reichardt herself up for directing, I just think that movie got overlooked, and screenplay, not so much. The movie operates much more on a visual scale, and Kelly's directing is really on point with that movie. And 2008's also, if you just kind of look at it, is like you realize 2007, 2008, 2009 is really when comedy is kind of, ending an era.
Yeah.
The raunchy, super bad Tropic Thunder, Hangover, those kind of movies those aren't made anymore.
Yeah.
That's not really a thing anymore. Step Brothers 2008, Forgetting Sarah Marshall 2008. These movies don't really get made anymore in this style. Comedies can still be done. There's a lot more like hoops to go through, and that's unfortunate. But I think it's going to be good for the genre in the long haul, if that makes any sense.
I don't. I think that any kind of repression when it comes to art is bad. I think that, restricting what we can and can't say in film is just going to hurt the genre. We've seen that happen. We've seen that, what happens when Hollywood kind of puts its foot down and says, you can't do this. And it never ends well. So I don't like this. I want to, I think that we should be expressing ourselves in every possible way, regardless of who we offend, and try to make the best of, the best art we can do.
Yeah, that's tough. I don't know. I mean, I think I'm, neutral on that kind of a topic. It's something that could be talked about forever,
No.
Is kind of like, what's acceptable and what does it matter, and like there's like the great Tom Segura bit in his stand-up where he's like, don't go to the comedy show if you don't want to be offended,
Yeah.
And that's definitely like a stance, but there's also something to being aware of people's feelings. So I do think, as I've rewatched, some of like the 2000s comedies, I think it's good that some of that stuff doesn't happen anymore in comedy. Do I want there to be rules all over the place? I don't want that either. But there's, there's some stuff, that's not really funny in the first place. I'll use an example because I don't want to just be that guy. Like in The Hangover. I'll use one that's directly from this kind of era. It's 2009, I believe. There's, towards the beginning of the film, a huge bit where I want to say it's Bradley Cooper is saying, to, I believe, Ed Helms' character, he's like paging Dr. Faggot. I believe that's the actor who says it, and Bradley Cooper, Oscar nominated guy 4 times. Yeah. I think it's good that that's not in movies anymore. I think there's a way to do it if you have a character who's just being a fucking bully and is being a total dick, and he calls someone that word. I get it, I get it. It's useful for the story. It's something that, but when you're just using it as purely as a gag, I think it's okay that some of the stuff doesn't really fly anymore because it's just not really funny, and it's kind of, quite frankly, it's a little bit lazy,
Yeah.
But I think you're coming from, I'm not speaking to you. I'm kind of speaking on the subject, because I think you agree with me. I think you don't want to offend people. That's never, of course, your intention. But I think that's where the conversation is. I think there's I don't think there is a line. I think it goes movie by movie or story by story. You just be smart with your own story. Of course, if your character is a racist cop, then he's going to say racist things. But if you're going to just, Quentin Tarantino, just place yourself in your movie to say these offhanded things that just have nothing to do with the story, that's kind of fucking dumb, And a lot of comedies did that in the 2000s, where it was just like making fun of groups of people. It's just like, what? That's not a joke. You're stereotyping and generalizing people. That's not really a joke. You're just bullying and making fun of people. And so I think there's a line, or there's not a line, is my point, is that it's kind of gray.
Well, here's where I'm coming from. I'm all for film and, stories and culture organically growing to accept all forms of people. to accept, things have changed. I just don't want Hollywood to say that they can't do certain things. I don't want restrictions. Like, I want it to, if it's going to happen, great. I mean, I've seen some stuff that, for example, I just watched this past Christmas Holiday Inn.
Yeah.
And there's a whole blackface segment in that film that does not need to be there. And it's super uncomfortable. I mean, I watched an episode of Frasier a few weeks ago from like 2002, I think it was, where Frasier gets a new producer for a week. That's an outspoken black woman who kind of hijacks his show with her own ideas. And he's afraid to like tell her to stop because he doesn't want to be perceived as a racist, even though race has nothing to do with this. And he and his brother kind of like, enact what he thinks she's going to say. And Frasier plays her. And
Lord.
Like ridiculous. The word massa is thrown around. Like it gets bad. And I was like, fuck, I cringed. Like, what is this? So I hate that shit. I hate lazy, racist, sexist, homophobic, just, quote unquote jokes.
Yeah.
And I don't want that around either. But it really, I also just don't want producers to say, like, don't write that. Because that also pisses me off. So it's a layered thing for me, man.
It is. It's super layered. And I think really it comes down to the people that are making these films or, whatever the medium is just use your brain. Use your brain with the situation.
Be smart.
Like you're saying, without, so we don't have to have restrictions and rules. Don't fucking cross the line. Don't have a character saying nonsensical shit just for the hell of it. And then we'll be okay. Then we won't have to talk about this,
Well, that's why I love Tropic Thunder, because it's so smart with that joke. It's, he's playing an Australian guy playing a black guy. So he's going out of his way to be like the way he thinks, a 70s or 60s black dude would talk. And then Brandon T. Jackson's just like, dude, what the fuck are you doing? Stop it. The whole time. Yeah. Like, it's an ongoing gag that's smart and makes sense. I mean, the never go full retard thing could be done differently now, I think. But, baby steps. I just, I like smart humor and I like people being creative. And if there's a way we can kind of intersect that, everyone wins.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think this is a great segue into just doing our awards. Is In Bruges totally flirts with that line.
Yes.
Totally.
Yes, it does.
But it's because it's dealing with like piece of shit, assassin killer characters.
Yes. Yes, it is.
Oh man, so good. This is gonna be fun, man. This has been a wild ride to get here. In Bruges, obviously a movie that impacts us a lot, and we both have picked out awards here. We got the Tarantino for best quote or line. Yeah. We got the Ennio Morricone award for best music moment, and then we got the PSH award, Philip Seymour Hoffman, for best performance, and the Roger Deakins award for best moment or scene in the movie. So before we get to the awards, you got anything else?
No, I think we've teased this enough.
We're here. Go ahead and take it away with your Tarantino.
Okay, so I have two.
Hell yes. It's hard.
Narrowing this down was difficult. I'm going to start with the one that I've always kind of loved from this because it's so mean, but so just out of the blue funny. And it's when Ken, Brennan Gleason, is kind of, irritated that Ray is not enjoying Bruges or impressed by it. And
oh, God, yes.
Ray responds with, Ken, I grew up in Dublin. I love Dublin. If I'd grown up on a farm and was retarded, Bruges might impress me, but I didn't, so it doesn't. It's so mean, but fuck, man, I laugh harder at that every time.
Yeah, this is what we were just talking about.
Yeah,
Ray is just a foul-mouthed fucking scoundrel, and that's what his character is. That's what he does. He just kind of lives and breathes to just kind of talk shit, just kind of bullshit.
Yeah.
And I kind of can't stand him, but I also love him.
Yeah. Remember why we're here. He murdered a child.
Yeah, he's not a good guy. He's not a good person at all.
Yeah. I love that the movie kind of makes you forget about that weirdly. Like he's our hero in an odd way, but he's here because he murdered a child by accident and his boss wants him dead for doing that.
Yeah.
So weird. And my other line, be prepared. You're going to hear me say the C word quite a lot. So it's when Harry finally shows up and he and Ken are at an outside like cafe chatting about the situation. And Ken is just fully honest with what he thinks about Harry and says, Harry, let's face it. And I'm not being funny. I mean, no disrespect, but you're a cunt. You're a cunt now, and you've always been a cunt. And the only thing that's going to change is you're going to be an even bigger cunt. Maybe even have some more cunt kids. And that's when Harry freaks out. He's like, you leave my kids out of this. He didn't give a shit that Ken just called him a cunt. He's like, don't you dare talk about my children like that. So that whole bit just, yeah, I love it. I love the way the Brits use the C word. It's interchangeable with like idiot and asshole. It's just part of their dialect. You drop the C bomb here, you're going to turn some heads. So yeah, I watch a lot of British films, so hearing that word always makes me just kind of giggle.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. I think it's a very silly word that we've, as a society, allowed to be this harmful thing. God, that bit is so good because, like you pointed out, when Harry gets offended,
Yeah.
it's like, bloody hell, I'm gonna have to shoot you right here in the streets if you keep talking about my kids. Oh man, he's like, are you trying to stir me up?
Salt my fucking kids, that's going overboard, mate.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I love that scene. Just amazing acting from those two right there. You know,
there are no
really
bad words,
stuff.
only bad people.
Yeah. Yes. So true. Well, good. My Tarantino, I have one. It comes from Ray, and it's just a bit of, Ray and Ken are having a bit of banter, and they're looking at art, and it's really funny to see these two dudes and their different perspectives on the art that they're looking at. And Ray says, "Purgatory is kind of like the in-betweeny one. You weren't really shit, but you weren't really that great either, like Tottenham." Now, there's a reason that I picked this one. First of all, it's funny as hell. And then at the end, throws on the like Tottenham. Now, that may confuse some folks out there, but Tottenham would be the rival football club of Martin McDonagh's football club. So, because he was born in London, Tottenham's also in London. So he's throwing a lot of shade there at Tottenham Football Club as a whole. And this is in 2008. Since then, they still haven't won anything big. I'm a Chelsea fan, so this is great. This is a great quote. Chelsea's not very far from Tottenham, both clubs in London. So this made me just kind of crack up rewatching it. I didn't catch that the first time I watched it, and just great delivery from Colin Farrell.
Oh, beautiful. Great. Yeah. There's so many great lines in this movie. It's tough to really narrow it down. Like one of my favorites that didn't make it was when Ray's just sitting on the bench outside the bell tower and those fat Americans walk up and are like, they're going to go up the tower. And he's like, oh, you shouldn't go up there. It's like, what are you saying? Like, what do you mean? What am I saying? These are giant fucking elephants. And then he tries to chase him. And then Ken comes out of the tower and is like, you shouldn't go up there. And the woman just goes, screw you, motherfucker.
Yeah.
Like,
you are so rude. Yeah.
You are just the worst person.
Yeah. Brennan Gleason's like, what was that all about? Oh, I don't know. Use her a bunch of elephants.
That whole exchange could have been in my Tarantino.
Yeah. Oh man, so good.
Oh,
the Ennio Morricone. We've already talked about Carter Burwell, of course, who's the composer of this score.
Yeah.
But I'm going to go ahead and go first because I didn't choose Carter Burwell's score. I chose On Raglan Road by the Dubliners as Brennan Gleason takes his fall to his death as Ken. Just an old school Irish song. Pretty gritty. Could have been playing in any gangster movie and it would just be super badass and sentimental. Fucking drops the coins down. in the fog of Bruges and jumps to his death. Pretty spectacular stuff, and a great needle drop.
Oh, dude, great choice. I am a huge fan of the Dubliners. I love
Who
Irish
who
folk songs.
isn't? If you're not a fan of the Dubliners, do yourself a favor, go listen to the Dubliners.
Yeah. I would also recommend the High Kings and
Okay.
Gaelic Storm. Check them out.
There you go.
I really like Irish music.
There's a little homework for you. Yeah.
That's a great one, man. Good choice.
Ennio Morricone, not always about the score. Sometimes the needle drop.
Yep. Sometimes those are the most interesting decisions.
Oh, for sure.
Mine comes about when Harry arrives in town and goes to meet with Ken, because there is an emotional energy that changes in the score. You know, with Ken and Ray in Bruges, it's kind of, you know, a little like a little bouncy, a little like, you know, one last time together, kind of, you know, reminiscent almost. When Harry shows up, it gets a little charged and emotional, and it really matches Harry's, not only his anger, but his uncertainty about what he wants to do here. Because not only does he have to kill Ray, he now is, you know, fighting the fact that he might also have to kill Ken here. And he loves Ken. He doesn't want to do that. And you can hear that in the score, and you can see it in his eyes, and they work together to build this uncertainty. And it's fucking beautiful.
Ah, what a choice. That's brilliant. That's what the award's all about. It's finding that exact moment.
Oh, yeah. What is your PSH?
The Philip Seymour Hoffman. Usually a nice and fascinating award here. I do think, yeah, you know, there's three guys that are up for this one.
Yeah.
And I, you know, went through my mind quite a bit on this one, but I kept coming back to Mr. Gleeson as Ken. Brennan Gleason takes the PSH for me. And I would love to say that if we did 28 Days Later on this show, I think maybe he'd take that one too. No, I think he's great, man. I'm really glad we got to talk about him kind of at length earlier. And he is so damn good in this movie. And what I kind of came to was that all three of them are amazing. Colin, Brendan, and Rafe. Colin is, you know, a bit of a wild card, obviously, and is playing this character who's drunk at points and trying to get laid and doing this and doing that. At one point, shoots a blank into a guy's eye and totally off his rocker. Very, very familiar with characters like that. But this Ken character feels so damn original and feels like a guy that I truly kind of touched on earlier. I truly would watch, you know, however many episodes, it doesn't matter, of that character Ken dealing with other people in his line of work, because he has a way about him that, you know, is kind of easygoing for this guy who's dealing with crime, and the way he kind of justifies it a little bit, like, oh, some of the people aren't so good, you know, they're not very nice people anyway, the people we're putting away. How he kind of sees himself as not like the bad of the bad, you know. He kind of philosophizes with his own criminality, and I think that's really fascinating. Of course, there's the scenes, you know, that I point out, like with him and Ray looking at the art. That's one of the best scenes of the movie to me. But the whole time, Ken is just super interesting to me, and I feel as though Ray and Harry, while they're both unbelievable characters, I think the reason I chose Ken was because I think he's a bit more original for me as a fan. That's it. I think that was it, because they're all three so damn good.
They are, and I get that. You know, Ken, I would love to see his story. You know, what made him into this man? Like him and Harry, like where did their relationship start? Like what is his loyalty?
Yeah.
And there's so much unspoken history here that is so beautiful. But I had to go with my gut and go with Mr. Harry Waters, Ralph Fiennes. Yeah,
fair enough. Yeah, firecracker.
From the second you hear him on the other end of a phone call, you're like, who is this violent gentleman? Who is this guy who hates everything. Like he is just such an aggressive motherfucker, but also weirdly endearing. Like he has a code of honor that you kind of respect.
Yeah. Oh, that's it then.
Yeah.
Oh,
And
man.
just his, everything he says. I love hearing Ralph Fiennes as like a Cockney North London gangster.
Yeah.
That's you're
Oh
an
my
inanimate
God.
fucking object. Like from
Yeah.
all of that.
The line when he says, "An Uzi, I'm not from South Central Los fucking Angeles."
I want a normal
Oh
gun
my
for a normal
God.
person.
Yeah. How can fucking swans not fucking be somebody's fucking thing, eh?
Who is this guy? Like, how is this a human being functioning in society?
Yeah, he is truly wonderful, and you have me thinking about my choice. And so my fucking kids, that's going overboard. Yeah.
Retract that bit about my fucking kid. Are you
retract with that bit?
Yeah.
Jesus Christ.
But with all that, you kind of get it. He's a gangster. He does bad shit, but he doesn't want to be a monster. He doesn't consider himself a monster, and he hates that he has to do this. He doesn't want to do this. He needs to do this because he believes Ray has crossed the line. And with Ken siding with Ray, Harry's conflicted. And I love that Rafe can bring both sides of this guy to the table. And we get to see this crazy ass monster gangster, but also this kind of, this man who doesn't want to lose his oldest friend. It's that union that made Rafe my choice here.
Yeah, I totally respect it. I love that. I love when another bit when he's speaking to Ken, he's like, Ken, if I had killed that little kid accidentally or otherwise, I wouldn't have thought twice. I'd killed myself on the fucking spot. I would have stuck the gun in my mouth on the fucking spot. And then he does, it's foreshadowing what's going to happen. And oh man, yeah, just great stuff from all three of those guys. Colin is in no way like taking bronze or some bullshit here. They're all, it's like 1A, 1B, 1C. They're all fantastic.
Yeah, for sure. It's a great triple threat of a cast here.
Yeah. You just can't deny that Harry has like the best lines to work to work with, and that's actually my Deacons is actually that phone call between Harry and Ken when he's basically explaining you're going to have to kill Ray, Yeah. That whole bit. And when he's asking him, how does he like Bruges? That's when he's like, how can it not be his fucking thing? And he tells him, hey, tell Ray to go out, and Ken does that whole bit where he opens the door and closes the door and he's on the phone with him. That whole like 5-minute stint, that scene is pretty breathtaking. It's a 10 out of 10 scene.
Yeah.
And it's where you have the great stuff from Harry, where he's fairy tale fucking Bruges. And he's like, I'm glad I could, do one thing for the kid before he leaves, Jesus.
But in his own way, it's a nice gesture. He could have just blown his brains out in London and thrown him in the, in the Thames, but he didn't.
No, he didn't. Send him to Bruges. Fucking Bruges. What's your Deacons?
Before I get into my Deacons, I do want to just shout out one more Harry line.
Of course. I mean, there's you could go on all night, and I'm cool with it.
It's the message he leaves with the hotel lady.
Oh, yes.
It's our first voiceover from Harry. And here it is. Number 1, why aren't you in when I fucking told you to be in? Number 2, why doesn't this hotel have phones with fucking voicemail and not have to leave messages with the fucking receptionist? Number 3, you better fucking be in tomorrow night when I fucking call again or there'll be fucking hell to pay. I'm fucking telling you. Harry. Did you ask for a better introduction? Oh,
Harry. I love that so much.
And then the lady's like, I'm not the receptionist. I own this place.
Yeah.
He's like, I'm sorry.
She's a great character too that comes into play later, of course, as they're dueling it out.
I love Harry's like, nope, I won't hurt her, I promise, but you're gonna fucking die. God. So my scene, my deacons is Harry and Ken in the tower. When Ken's kind of basically giving it, like I had to do it. And Harry's like, I fucking get that, but I gotta fucking kill you. And Ken's just like, do it. I don't care anymore. Just know I did this for the right reasons and I have no regrets. And Harry's like, fuck, well, I can't really kill you now, can I? And he shoots him in the leg. He's like, I had to do something. And then he starts helping him down. And then, yeah, just from there to Ken jumping off the tower is just such a great scene that is so great for his character. And I love it.
Yeah. Brilliant stuff. Brilliant. This movie has an awesome, finale, last 15, 20 minutes.
No.
It really just doesn't skip any beats, man. Overall, I give it a 9. I think it could really get pushed to that 10 place just because when you love something and you watch it over and over, eventually that love kind of just pours over you like a wave and you just give in. And I could see that happening with this one, as I'll probably watch it for the years to come.
I too give this a 9. It's a firm favorite of mine. And I honestly can't believe we made it this whole podcast without bringing up the coked up midget and his racist, like, race war belief. That whole scene.
Good Lord, Jimmy. Yeah. Jimmy, of course, is the dwarf who's dressed up as a little boy who gets shot at the end. And that's why Harry does what he does at the end. Yeah, no, I mean, crazy character, wild character to have in the movie. And that scene when they're all partying, yeah, and he's just like, it's just gonna be a big race war, man. And then later in the movie, he's like, yeah, it's just cocaine talking. I like was rolling around laughing at that when he was like, yeah, it's just cocaine. Because I've heard people talk like that on cocaine. I have, and it's very one note,
Yeah.
And I've heard that rant or a rant similar to that. And the next day, yeah, just, sorry, that was the coke talking. It was just perfect. It was perfect timing. Great delivery.
It's from the second Ray just loudly and excitedly goes, they're filming midgets.
Yeah.
From there to it's there's no fat on this thing. It all works for some weird reason.
For sure.
It's a great movie. Yep. 9 will probably be a 10 the next time I watch this.
Yeah, it could get there. Yeah, another couple watches. We'll see. Yeah. Maybe you fall in love with something that you didn't see before. You never know. But I had a blast doing this, just kind of talking about the individuals who make In Bruges what it is. And looks like we both kind of walked away with learning some stuff about the cast and finding out what we really, really like about it. And that seems to be what it was nominated for, which is the screenplay.
Yeah, exactly. It's its greatest strength for sure.
Yeah, I think so. And I do wish In Bruges had more nominations, of course, but that's kind of the point of the show, is to talk about, films like, Joker and Parasite and movies that have recently got a ton of nominations, or talk about, something kind of random like this that has the one nom, and has this kind of cult status. So yeah, I had a lot of fun. But next week is, we're going into whole different territory, a place we haven't been before in a while. I think since Rashomon, which is the foreign language area of the Oscars, we're gonna tackle La Strada next week for episode 42. That is the first film to take home the win for best foreign language film. So that category wasn't formed until, the mid 50s. So La Strada is the first proper winner. And we're going to kind of do a Federico Fellini week, kind of just talk about his stuff, his, that movie, 8.5, Amarcord. What else is there? He's got a ton that have been touched by the Oscars, and we're just going to kind of have fun with it. But La Strada is the one. It won best foreign language film, and then it was also up for best screenplay. So we're going to have fun with that, man. Go back to the 50s, talk a little foreign language film category, and, talk a little bit of Italian film with Fellini.
Sounds good. Yeah. It's, uncharted territory is fun, and, it can be hit or miss. I never know. So I'm excited to, take the plunge. If I'm going to be, I'm going to call myself a film buff, I need to check out some Fellini.
Yeah, Fellini, of course, is a critically acclaimed guy. He's seen as one of the more, important guys of the kind of new wave of European cinema in the 50s, 60s, 70s. A guy who just kind of shredded, throughout those decades. And from what I've seen, I've just seen a couple. I've seen 8.5. I've seen Amarcord. I think they're both pretty awesome. Super, super eager to get into this and to do another a foreign movie. We've done Z, Rashomon, and now we're going to go after La Strada. So yeah, it's fun to do these because it completely changes the pace, and yes. Like you said, you're plunging into kind of just unknown territory for yourself as a fan. So come back next week with us and hear about some Fellini. What's going on with sneak preview and Filmgazm this week?
Sneak preview tomorrow. We're going to be talking about the new film by Tom Holland and the Russo brothers, Cherry, which is getting kind of mixed reviews, but we have not yet watched it, but we will give our 2 cents. And then on the sneak preview, in honor of St. Patrick's, we just did the sneak preview, Filmgazm. In honor of St. Patrick's Day, Julie and I are tackling the underground cult favorite, Leprechaun. So very excited about that. Have not yet watched it. Not exactly itching to. I've heard really bad things from pretty much everybody who's checked this out, but I don't care. St. Patrick's Day, and we're doing Leprechaun. So
fuck it. Gonna have some fun.
And be sure to check out the Giggle guys on Friday. Don't know what they're doing, but I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, that's Joanne and Andrew. So we don't really know exactly what movies they're doing. It's more of kind of a surprise, and they're just running with it, having a lot of fun. So I can't wait to join them one day. But for right now, they're just rolling.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And we, got a really cool announcement on Filmgazm this Wednesday, by the way, for the following week's episode, which is going to be primo. So tune in to find out what's happening. I could not be more excited.
Hell yeah, man. Me too. I know of what you speak about, and I too am equally excited for what's to come in the next few weeks.
Yeah. With that, thank you for joining us today on a very funny and interesting episode after Chariots of Fire. This was a nice change of pace.
Yes, I think we both needed, kind of a firm favorite.
Yeah,
to kind of bounce back off of Chariots. That's not to say that we don't love Raiders in Atlantic City and On Golden Pond and Reds. Yeah, but Chariots is weak.
Yes, it was. And when the big one, the primo film that we're going to be talking about is weak.
yeah, you got because you got to find awards for it, and that's difficult sometimes when you aren't passionate about the movie. So yeah, In Bruges was like, I just did it. I did it so easily. I mean, it was difficult to choose, but it was easy to think of them in my brain. Yeah.
So this was awesome. Had a great time doing this.
Oh yeah.
We'll see you next Sunday.